Well, hello, class. Here we are in chapter 9, and in this particular chapter, we're going to be talking about the foundations of group behavior. As we learned, the way this book is designed, you usually start with the individual in the organization and concentrate on them. How are they motivated? How do they use power? Where they are on the organizational grid, etc. Now we put individuals together and we form groups. Groups have positive and negatives to them, but as we all know, the weakest link to every chain represents the strength of the team. So if the weakest link is strong, the team is strong. So in this particular chapter, over the next 4 days, we're going to be dealing with getting individual behavior and putting it into groups and see how that pans out. This chapter is going to focus on how groups work and create effective teams. So the objectives of this chapter are going to be to distinguish between the different types of groups, describe what we call the punctuated equilibrium model of group development. We're going to show how role requirements in an organization change in different situations. We're going to demonstrate how norms exert influence on an individual's behavior. We're going to show how status and size of a group affect the group performance. We're going to describe how issues of cohesiveness and diversity can be integrated for group effectiveness. Then we're going to contrast the strengths and weaknesses, and this is really important, of group decision making. So this is a very interesting chapter, but it has a lot to do with group synergy, how individuals fit into groups, how they work with one another, sometimes compete with one another in a healthy way, but they compete with one another in an unhealthy way when there's a lot of conflict and it affects morale. So we're going to look, as I said, at some of the foundations of group behavior, how the groups are formed, what we do with them, and how we measure how well that they're doing. Also, as you know in the SWOT analysis, the internal environment constantly interacts with the external environment of the organization. So as we have changes in the external environment, the internal environment is changing. So let's look at that. Let's get at it and see what's going to happen with this chapter over the next 4 days. Do well.